Who's the champ of foolish fame? Let's crown the buffoon of the week by name. Comic crown and a goofy streak. The title goes to our champ this week.
Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else in between classes. Back in session. Welcome back to Buffoonology 101. Gene Berardelli and Ross Galloway here, or at least I think he's here. He's boning up on my book, Snooks, Crooks, Lies, and Scoundrels, a field guide to identifying political buffoons, available right now on Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, and other online bookstores.
This guy is a grifter.
Thanks for the early pluck there, man. I appreciate that.
I actually was going to ask you for a refund because I just turned to page 105, and this was in my book right in the middle. Like, I don't really understand.
What in the world is that?
Yeah.
How did that get in there?
I'm assuming I got this specially made for me. I don't really understand where that came from.
Why do you have that?
Oh, let me see. 105?
105. Is that yours?
Well,
what else is in here?
well, I'm looking at page 105. I'm going to let everybody know that is not in every book. 102, 104. Oh, now I know you're lying to me. Look, it's just Al Sharpton. Stop it. What are you doing?
Oh, man.
Anyway, so we got some business to do here, my friend. The first bit of business is we got to go back and talk about last week's contest. And I got to let you know that Ross Galloway is back in the game. It was a closer contest. We all thought it was going to be pretty close. Turns out it was 60 to 40, but I didn't really get 40% because there was one write-in vote requested by a commenter on Facebook requesting that Speaker Mike Johnson be his write-in vote for Buffoon of the Week, and I wasn't going to deny the people what they want there. But congratulations, my friend.
So what's the final tally?
Final tally. So here are the numbers. We had 75 votes in total, which is a little off us, but you also have to remember it was Memorial Day weekend. As far as views of our different videos across different platforms, it was right on par. It was around 1,850 views across platforms, the majority coming on shorts on YouTube. And it was a good week considering it was a holiday weekend and people weren't really looking at things like this online. So you win, but I think it deserves an asterisk. I think it's not really a win. It's not really a win because it really wasn't a full week. I don't think people really were in the headspace to look in depth at LaMonica McIver and really appreciate her buffoonery. But it is what it is.
Hey, whatever helps you sleep at night.
I will say this, though, about the vote. This is funny as hell. The first 2 days, we were separated by one vote between us. And then, because I posted videos all over social media, on Facebook, on X, on Parler, on Getter, on Minds, pretty much every social media site I can think of. And there were many comments coming in from Facebook, among the many places I post on there, all saying, this is too close to call. I can't choose. So, thinking I had a shot at gaining a vote or two, I would say to these people, well, you should just, you can't sit on the fence here. Voting demands choices, and it's time for choosing. Choose one. And out of the 7 people that commented that it was too close to call, all 7 of them went to Ross Galloway. And I'm thinking to myself, son of a bitch, I just helped him win. But it was close to the margin of victory, but it wasn't. Well, listen, congratulations on your little weekend holiday victory, whatever. It doesn't really matter or anything like that.
Listen, I appreciate it, Gene, because those 7 votes might have made a difference. I know you had it up on Grindr for a while, too, and you were in the lead for like a day or two. So my 7 on Facebook.
The only reason you would know it was up on Grindr is because you logged in. I don't have a login for that, so I don't know what you're talking about.
You're incorrigible.
So listen, normally we put up 2 more buffoons for nomination, but as we said, we're coming off of a holiday weekend. And in talking to my cohort / nemesis here, we thought it would be a good time to talk about being accurate when it comes to scoring these buffoons. For the past 7 weeks, we've been going at it, trying to come up with scores for the buffoonish nature and buffoonish action magnitude, the buns and the bams of our nominees. And given that time has passed, I think it's time, and I think you agree with me, pal, that it's time to revisit some of that scoring and maybe make some adjustments. Maybe we got a little too heated in the moment. Maybe we didn't give enough credit where credit was due. And it's time to revisit some of those scores. What do you think?
And I agree. And for those of you guys watching, if you go to the website, buffoonology.com, and you go to Buffoonology 101, there's a great chart there. You could sort them by whatever system you want, alphabetical order, by buns, BAMs. And I was playing around with it. And that's the exact thought I had today, Gene, was, some of these rankings, we got caught up in the passion of the moment. And we might want to rescore a couple of these people and put them in a more, logical order now that we had time to reflect.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree with that. By the way, here is the Buffoonology 101 page. It has our little intro video, explains the Sharpton BUffoonery Matrix and how it's supposed to look, the rules for grading and judging. And like you said, we have our official tally board here, where we have all of our buffoons listed, and it's a sortable. It's sortable, this table. We can do it by BAM, we can do it by bun, we can do it by date. All the Buffoonology is right here at your fingertips at our Buffoonology 101 hub if you want to play along with us. But right now, let's get to looking at where these buffoons lie on the matrix and see if there are any adjustments that need to be made. So here it is in all its glory. This is the current plotting of buffoons on our Sharpton BUffoonery Matrix, and it's sorted by bun to BAM ratio. On the x-axis, if you remember your algebra, are the buffoonish natures, the buns, and I cut it off from 50 to 100 because we kind of set a rule, pal, that if you're a political buffoon, you're kind of starting at a 50 to begin with.
Otherwise, why are we talking about you? Yeah.
Yeah. And then it goes from 0 up to 120 gigasharptons. Even though that scale has no limit, we've only gotten as high as 100 gigasharptons, so I kind of cut it off there. This is our work for the past 2 months. Not too shabby, pal.
I gotta say, Gene, I'm very impressed. And as far as we talked a little bit before the show on this, I'm a fan of the bun, right? I guess in more ways than one.
Who doesn't love buns? I mean, come on.
Who don't like buns? But someone's buffoonish nature to me, and it's just a logical scale. Listen, the gigasharp is hilarious, but I focus down there on that x-axis, and that's what made me think we really should revisit some of this, because obviously some people have more staying power than others, and I'll give you credit, and I think we're going to talk about the guy in a little bit. Jake Tapper, I mean, he hit it out of the park, man. The guy's been in the news for over 3 weeks now, every single day. He's rivaling Trump for airtime. So, we got to look at some of these scores, is all I'm saying.
Now, I have no preference between, buns or BAMs. I know that your anaconda don't want none unless you got buns, hun.
I understood that reference.
If there was a buffoon that made news again that we really didn't talk about on the show, it might be worth looking at them, like Nancy Mace. And I would like to, I'd like to give her an adjustment, if you know what I mean.
Jesus.
It's all about the buns and the BAMs. It has nothing to do with real life. Stop.
Speaking of buns, what got her in the news recently, Gene?
Well, I don't know if you heard about this, Mr. Galloway, but apparently
the Constitution's Fourth Amendment enshrines a reasonable expectation of privacy. Yet today, that freedom is violated by secret cameras and hidden devices to record women and girls with impunity. Behind me is a screenshot from one of the videos I found of myself. The yellow circle, this naked silhouette, is my naked body. I didn't know that I had been filmed. I didn't give my consent. I didn't give my permission. And this particular video that Patrick Bryant recorded of me on his secret camera, he saved for over 3 years without my knowledge. I didn't pick this fight. I don't even want to be here today and discuss this. But because he's still roaming around South Carolina free, filming whatever genital parts he wants, because no one has held him accountable, he's not in jail, he's not had to pay a fine, no restitution. He's able to rape other women, film them. And when I discovered this video, I discovered that he utilized up to 4 potential devices, and I wouldn't be surprised if there were more.
That was an overshare.
she presented a blurry, naked silhouette during a hearing for the House Cybersecurity, IT, and Government Innovation Subcommittee, which she's the chair of, by the way, on the subject of surveillance in private spaces. Was this a humble brag? I don't know, but she seems to be really going at this issue of invasions of privacy and things like that. And while I understand that, there is such a thing as going too far. And I think she went a little too far here. But in going too far, I think her bun grew a little bit. What do you think?
I 100% agree. I think she is actually the first person to use the new legislation, the Take It Down Act, against herself. Yeah, buffoonish nature. She's got to go. Even if we don't adjust her score up, she's in a pack with other people at 72, and she clearly is ahead of that pack. So either we move her up or we drop a couple of people down or both. But yeah, I think that we need to adjust her for sure.
Yeah, as we're looking right now at 72, we have Nancy Mace, you have Jake Tapper, who may be maybe another candidate to move around a little bit, and we have Senator Mike Bennett, all around that 72 mark. What is it subconsciously about that number that made us pick that? That's something to ponder later on. It felt like a comfort zone for us, maybe. I don't know.
It is strange. And looking back now, hindsight's 2020, Bennett, even at the time I said, he has a long track record, but he's not one of these guys that's in the news in your face constantly, right? So Bennett definitely doesn't belong anywhere near Jake Tapper, especially at this point. Jake Tapper has just as long of a history, and he's way worse, right? His nature's worse. And Mace is giving him a run for money too, right? So, I mean, if I had to pick right now, just throwing it out there, Bennett should be the lowest of those three. Tapper should be the highest, and Mace should be in the middle.
All right, so let's consider this. Nancy Mace, I think, needs to be nudged up at least one for the whole naked picture thing. I think that for Senator Bennett, that BAM was so huge. I mean, he's on national television talking about campaign finance, but then stammers and stutters about his own campaign finance. But I think that BAM got him to 72, and maybe he should stick there. And if he stays out of the news for a while, maybe reduce him down later. But Jake Tapper, he needs to be nudged up more than just like one or two, just for the staying power of, we're at like 2.5, 3 weeks now. All the fallout from this book. This book might propel Jake Tapper to a Buffoon of the Year nod later on in the winter, which is something to maybe consider going forward as well.
Yeah, bro, I couldn't agree more. Just my rough note off the top of my head, I'm thinking like a +5 for Tapper, because I think he edged out Elizabeth Warren. Like, she has a long track record too, but Tapper, he won the game. It's early in the year, but he's winning. Like, he's definitely ahead of her, right? A +5 will put him at 77.
77 is a bold jump, I think.
He's catching Diddy. Diddy hasn't really done anything stupid.
Yeah, you know what? So if let's do it all relative to each other, because that's kind of how the science works here. If he's at 77, I think Mace has to go to 74, and that leaves Bennett at 72. What do you think?
I think that's a fair spread.
All right. So we're going to update those three scores. And when we come back from the break here, let's take another look to see if there are any BAMs that in hindsight we got a little too high, maybe got a little too overexcited on, and check back on that later. So thanks to Ross Galloway, we grew some buns on certain people. Listen, I'm not never yuck someone else's yum. So, I'll let him do his thing. Are there any BAMs out there that you think are too low or too high?
Man, I'm looking through the list, and I gotta be fair. At the time, I wasn't real impressed with your pick with Jake Tapper, because everybody knows he's a scum. But looking back, he's way underrated. The magnitude of what he, has been exposed of doing warrants a higher rating, in my opinion. Significantly higher.
I think that's only fair, because of the staying power of this one particular act. Jake Tapper, as we discussed on Behind Enemy Lines earlier this week, he hired a crisis management team to kind of govern what he was saying and how to address questions like what Megyn Kelly did that got him into this position on our scale to begin with.
I look back at my coverage during the Biden years, and I did cover some of these issues, but not enough. I look back on it with humility. And look, knowing what I know now, obviously, I feel tremendous humility about my coverage. That's correct, I didn't. And like I said, I feel humility about my coverage. But yeah, I mean, of course, I've said, I look back at my coverage with humility. But it's impossible knowing then what I know now to not feel humility when I look back at my coverage.
There's a lot of regret. There's a lot of humility.
And looking back on that interview, which I feel tremendous humility about, our reporting suggests that she was correct. So I feel humility, tremendous humility.
I've said this a few times about him. Like, everybody knows he's a liar. He got COVID wrong, Russiagate wrong, the Hunter Biden laptop wrong, the Joe Biden mental acuity wrong, right? But the way she carved him up and exposed him, this is bad, and it's not getting better for him. I'm curious how many books he sold, but it's not looking good for him.
Well, I think people are buying the book just because of the magnitude of the story itself. We said that this is the most underreported story in the 21st century, at least in the past 25 years. And the fact that even Jon Stewart on The Daily Show is out there saying, you made us pay for news that you should have been reporting throughout the past 4 years. I think I said on Behind Enemy Lines that this is like journalism and OnlyFans kind of thrown together, that if you want to know what's going on, you got to pay for it. So I'm all for moving him up the BAM, seeing the staying power of that buffoonish action and the magnitude of it. So what you thinking there, man? This was one that you scored. I believe we had it at 37.12 gigasharptons. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was Comey. We have Tapper at 11 gigasharptons. Wow. So when Comey is at 32, I'm sorry, 37, and Tapper is at 11, do you think Tapper goes above Comey?
Yeah.
It's tough, right? This buffoonery stuff is tough.
No, well, I mean, in general, Comey's a worse dude, right, for a lot of things he's done. But for the seashell thing, like what Tapper did had, way more magnitude than what Comey did with the seashells, in my opinion. I know everybody's saying it was like a threat against the president, and I played along too because I don't like James Comey. But at the end of the day, it was a picture of some seashells. I don't know, Gene. We got to bump him up higher than Comey.
I have something to propose. How about a switcheroo? How about Comey gets 11 and Tapper gets 37.12? You just switch them out.
I think that's probably perfect.
All right.
I'm with it.
All right, so we're going to switch those two out. And finally, I want to talk about Sri Thanadar. It was we said it was a very interesting opening salvo from Thanadar. He's a relatively new member of Congress. We scored his whole impeachment thing, which got no traction at all and basically fell out of the news cycle since then. We gave it 65.25 gigasharptons, or should I say, I gave it that score. I think Thanadar needs a reduction, as we're seeing that the staying power of that story with him, not great. I'm okay with the 61 on the bun. It's a solid introduction, but the resonance of the BAM is not what I thought it was going to be. I thought there'd be a lot more jokes about this. It didn't happen. So I think I'm going to propose bringing Thanadar's BAM. I want to bring it down by like a third. So if we're doing it by a third, roughly, I want to knock 20 or so gigasharptons off of it, bring it down to like 41.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Anything lower than that would be insane because the guy's hair warrants at least 40 gigasharptons right from the jump.
Well, listen, 44, and while I agree with that, 41 would bring him just below LaMonica McIver. And because of the staying power of that story, she needs to be above where Thanadar was.
And I agree with you. If we never hear from this guy again, we come back and revisit it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you know what? Actually, I think as it gets further away, it'll just fall by the wayside anyway. But for the impact of the moment, it was a great story for a day, for a couple of days. But beyond that, it doesn't have the magnitude in comparison to Jake Tapper or to LaMonica McIver. And I think with those buffoons coming after Thanadar, it gives us a little perspective.
I agree.
Kind of how I'm feeling. All right.
And then I just have one more throwaway, Gene, that I just want you to think about. We could revisit this one on another episode, but Diddy with the 0. Gene gave one of my guys a 0. We're throwing around Giga Sharptons like they're nothing.
And you know what? The people agreed. Everyone thought you were gaming the system. I think that was a proper score. That ain't going nowhere. That 0 will remain as a memorial to Ross Galloway, who tried to pull a stress test on this system known as Buffoonology 101 and saw that he had failed to stress the system. It worked out. It's a valid system. It's a good system. It works. And I'm going to leave that 0 there as a memorial to how this system works.
Mark my words, Gene. We haven't heard the last from P. Diddy. And for all of you guys watching this, feel free to jump into the comments, man. Tell us what you think. As we looked at this, we wanted to revise some of these scores. And if you guys think some of these scores are a little out of whack, let us know. And we'll revisit this.
Did you just break the fourth wall? You? Oh my goodness. This is such a big step for you, Galloway. Congratulations. Welcome to the digital world that is Buffoonology 101.
Well, I always forget. Gene always has to remind me, guys, because I pretend like it's just me and Gene hanging out talking. And I forget that there's sometimes other people. Sometimes there's a few other people watching us.